Well, hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. I'm Corny Swiss, and today I'm driving the Jagdtiger in a realistic battle on the Eastern Europe map, and it's the battle game mode. The Jagdtiger's a machine that recently benefited from a battle rating drop. It is now a 7.0 battle rating machine. And before we really get started in this video, I'm going to make a video where I discuss at more length what I think about the general battle rating changes. It's an interesting conundrum I think we'll find ourselves in, and briefly I think the Jagdtiger is kind of an example of this. Now the Jagdtiger being dropped to 7.0 is significant. Oh, can we hit him? We can hit him, but unlucky there. The Jagdtiger being dropped to 7.0 is significant. However, it being dropped to 7.0 is significant in two ways. One, the machine now is probably more... I don't know. Honestly, I never felt that bad about the Jagdtiger being an 8.0 or maybe in that general area of the matchmaker. The issue was the other tanks at that battle rating. Because the Jagdtiger is really strong against... I mean, it's really strong against 6.0 tanks, right? But the issue with the battle rating being dropped, and I accidentally shoot this guy twice because I was like, uh-oh. I probably should have realized that that's the same guy, but, you know. A lot of times, if you're not sure, just go ahead and shoot it. If it wasn't dead, it'll die this time. So. But what's happening in this battle is that I'm trying to hold this entire flank. I don't want to be outflanked. That's the key thing in the Jagdtiger, and sometimes people get lost in the frontal armor. This thing is not very maneuverable. It can be circled by a lot of things, but it does have really powerful guns, so if you can maintain flank security, you can obliterate the enemy team. But briefly back to what I was saying about the battle rating being dropped, now it means that the Germans have one 8.0 battle rating tank. Every other rank 5 machine is no longer 8.0. The next highest, I believe, is 7.0 in the King Tiger and the Jagdtiger. The Mouse is the only 8.0. The Americans have one 8.0 and one 7.7, the M103 and the M47. The Russians, on the other hand, have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 8.0 battle rating tanks, and one tank that really should be 8.0, the T-54 model 1947. I don't know why that thing got dropped to a 7.7. It should be an 8.0. So for all intents and purposes, there are 3 8.0 battle rating tanks. I'm rounding 7.7 up to 8.0 because it's basically the same thing. And there's 3 across 2 nationalities. This IS-2 really didn't know I was here, and he probably should have. The Russians have 6, essentially 8.0 battle rating tanks. The Americans and Germans combined have 3, and the Americans have 2 of them. That's a very boring 8.0 battle rating. It's basically always Russians versus German and Americans, and the Germans and the Americans are either driving M103s or Mouses or severely under-tiered vehicles because their 7.0s are being pulled into 8.0 battle ratings ridiculously often. Or that's basically it, actually. There is no or. That's just what happens. I'll talk about it more because there's other things I can talk about there, but let's get back to this battle. That's, I guess, a teaser for the next video sometime in the future. Now, I'm in a strong position here. I am way out on the flank, and my team is generally advancing ahead of me. However, I can't move forward. There's enemy tanks to my front. There's an Su-122P and what looks to be a T-32, I believe a T-32, directly to my front. There's also a ZSU-37 who's attempting to make a run towards me. I'm not 100% sure if he... Well, I mean, he certainly knows I'm here now. I can see him using my binoculars, which is a trick that is going to come very handy for players as they kind of get used to unturreted tanks. So, I have an idea where he's coming from, which is critical, because if I don't know where he's coming from, I can't prepare for him, and the Jagdtiger's really slow in the turn. It's not the worst, but it's certainly not the best. But this ZSU is really not my biggest concern. I really want to hit that SU-122P who's causing havoc. I want to hit that T-32 or whatever it is over here. So I'm coming up over here. I have a bead on the SU-122, and he's actually going to start moving, which is alright. It means he can't shoot me. I know he's fired, so this shot is safe. And the ZSU comes around, so I start taking hits from the ZSU, but he's not shooting me with the armor-piercing round, which I know it has, and I know can penetrate me. Can penetrate the side of my tank and the rear of my tank. So when you're in this situation, the best idea is to open space. If he's not an immediate threat, you need to open space and basically break off the circling engagement. He can't it's going to be very difficult for him to circle me now because I'm too far away. My traverse of my tank is enough that he won't be able to circle me. So I'm slowly gaining on him, and as my armor angles up, he has zero chance of penetrating me, and he's actually just going to let me bop him one. Granted, I didn't kill him. It would have been nice if I'd killed him. And I feel like realistically that shell would have ripped the whole back half of his tank off, but whatever. I have a 21.5 or so second reload, so I just gotta wait, get this gun reloaded, and we'll give this guy quite a good helping of the good news right there. And he explodes, which is always nice. So, that was nice. Now, you can tell that my team has advanced far ahead of me now. They're pressuring the enemy cap, and now that this area is cleaned out, it's safe for me to move forward. Now, if I hadn't been there, this game probably would have been a little different. That's why a lot of times it's a good idea to sit, if you're in a strong flank position and you're engaging targets, don't really move forward. In that situation, the targets were at a close enough range where I could very easily engage them. And while they were focused on my allies, I was able to systematically kill a few of them. And the T-32, I believe, was knocked out by Allied forces. Just checking this Hellcat. I did hit him with that shot, but he was already dead. So, because what I was worried about in this game, because my previous games had been very 8.0 heavy. It's like a team of 7.0 Germans and Americans versus a team of 8.0 Russian tanks. I was very concerned about the flank, and I think I'm going to remain that concerned about the flank. So that's why I kind of position myself in a way that makes it, basically gives the enemy juicy targets, but also gives me juicy targets. And what the enemy really should have done in that situation is eliminate my tank. They needed to rush forward and take me out, because you kind of saw what happened. I think 3 of them, let's see, the SU-122P, the T-44, and the ZSU-37, which I think was the T-44 reincarnated. So, and an IS-2. So, basically 4 tanks died because I was basically left alone, right? Now, let's say the T-32 and the SU-122P decide to rush me. Well, one of them might die, and it probably would be, actually I don't know, it'd be either one of them. T-32 probably stands the best chance of surviving just because it's a larger tank, and he has, at least his turret is going to be difficult for me to penetrate frontally. His hull is a different story. I should be able to penetrate that. But the SU-122P I should be able to penetrate all over. So T-32 had the best chance of survival, assuming I shot him. So if those 2 tanks had come at me at the same time, I would have been certainly dead. 100% couldn't have done it. My team wasn't really in a position to protect me, and I probably would have been left out in the wind, and that would have been bad. But they didn't. Instead, they focused on the flanks of my allies, who then turned to face them after they blitzed the middle, and I had free shots, and I took them, and they died. So it's kind of what I've been trying to do with the Jagdtiger recently. I don't really want to engage. I don't want to have fair fights, and honestly, that's the way you have good games in War Thunder is make it an unfair fight. If, you know, the enemy are coming at you with tanks that don't, if you have a hold down position where the enemy can't hope to hurt you and you're well within striking distance of the enemy. So for example, in this tank, if I'm between 600 and 1,000 meters, I feel pretty good about hitting targets at that those ranges, less than 1,000 meters basically, in this tank. So if I sit less than 1,000 meters from the enemy in a hold down position and they don't feel like attacking me, you know, coming up and bum rushing me, I'm going to sit there all day and feast, right? And that's sort of what happened here. I was much closer than I wanted to be, but, you know, that was what the situation dictated, and I benefited from it. So I hope you enjoyed this replay. I'll be making a video where I talk about the BR changes because they have a greater impact than I feel like some people might be putting on them, and I have a feeling it's not necessarily a good change, but I'll explain more of that in a future video. Anyways, thanks for watching. I've been Corny Swiss. I'll see you next time.